Hi everyone, I wanted to make this quick overview of HTML, especially if you're just getting started, break down how exactly it all works. I have made a blog post about this, so feel free to check that out if you have, questions about what I'm going over in the video, want additional content to read about this in particular. But HTML, it's a great way to, start working on how to get content showing up in the browser. It serves as the way to structure a website, and it's a really foundational, important building block for when you start to get into frameworks as well. So HTML, definitely recommend learning and really mastering it. It's overall pretty easy to get started with it. All you're going to want to do is open up a file in Visual Studio Code, and essentially you're going to open up a folder. You're going to create a file called index.html, and to get started with just some boilerplate code, we're going to hit Shift !Tab, and it's going to add some boilerplate. This code is just there to get you started, so you don't have to memorize it. You're going to have to use it often, especially when you're just building static websites. And you'll see some text and tags here, or what are called tags, and I want to go over what exactly these mean, what's the importance of them, and break down the basics of HTML. So for starters, how HTML works is it's a set of tags that you're going to be using to show content and have it display in a browser. So if we go to a browser here, you'll see we just have a blank page, right? So just a blank page, nothing there, but we've got it in the browser at the moment. So what exactly does this all mean? So the first section here is the doc type tag. Essentially that's just saying, hey, we're working with HTML. All these other tags, essentially how HTML works is it's kind of like a tree structure. So the tags kind of work inward, at least in the document here, in the types of tags you're using. So there will be outer tags and then inner tags that are wrapping other tags. So there's parents and children. And you have two sections of the HTML. So all of the tags are going to go in this HTML tag, or this pair of tags. There's going to be the head tags and then the body tags here. So the head is where you're all going to put all of your meta details. So this typically is going to be, the meta details, like the meta title we've got here. That you can see in the tab up top here. It says document. That's essentially where this goes. You'll also see the meta tag in a search result with the title tag. And then you also see, you can add a meta description. That's also going to be here. Another great thing to add in the head is any additional files that complement your HTML. So that could be CSS. When you start to get into CSS, that could be your JavaScript. This is where you're going to link it. And to link, all you're going to do is essentially, let's say for CSS, you create a new file, like styles.css, and you're like, oh, hey, I want to link this. I want my HTML, my project, to know that I have some styles here. So you create the file, you come back here, you're going to use what's called a link tag. You're gonna explain what exactly what's the relationship this page has to the index.html file. In this case, it's a style sheet. And then you're going to link to it and let essentially this project know that, hey, this is where you can find the styles, and it should link up with this HTML that I've created. So I've gone ahead, linked it up, we're all set there, and that's all you have to do to essentially link other files that are complementing your HTML. The last thing I'll mention here is the head section is a great spot to put tracking codes, maybe like Google Analytics or Facebook Meta Pixel. It's also a great place often I'll use for any Google fonts I might want to add to my page. I want to use a special font. You're going to have to link to it, and to do that, you're going to add it to the head section here. So that's really what the head is all about. Now for the body, this is going to be the section that primarily is what you're seeing in the browser. So the head is kind of, in a way, invisible. So if you were to inspect the page, you could see your head in the DevTools, the Chrome DevTools here. So this is where you can see all of that. But beyond that, you can't really see it. It's kind of invisible. The body section is not the case. You can see that in the browser. And there are two types of tags you can use to structure and also display content in the browser. So there's going to be structure tags that have semantic meaning behind them, and then also some content tags. And these content tags are pretty much tags that you'll add content between both of the tags, the opening tag and the closing tag. So for instance, some of the structure tags that have semantic meaning are like the header. Maybe we want a header. You want a main section on your website. You've got a footer. These all have essentially a way to structure the page without being super generic. So there's a more generic tag you can use called a div. You can wrap a lot of tags with it, but it doesn't have as much significance and meaning as a header, even though it might do something similar as these other tags. So we don't always want to use this. It's good from time to time, but generally you ideally want to try to add as much meaning as you can to the page. So in the header, you can have a nav bar, you can have a nav tag, and we can build out some links here. So you can say like, oh, this is the home page, and then you can always make that into, this is the about page, and you could always link these out, add a link to it, but this is the contact page. So that's going to start showing up in our browser. So home, about, this is our header section. You then have the main section. You might want to add an H1. So like, welcome to my demo, right? So here is a content tag, or at least what I like to call a contact tag. You can even add a paragraph. This is a paragraph, right? So I consider contact tags anything that you are adding content to in a way, and then there's going to be these structural tags. It's just it's not exactly correct all the time, but generally if you start to think about this in terms when you're building out HTML, you've got these structure tags that organize all of your other tags, and then you have content tags. I think it's a great way to get started with HTML. You're going to have other tags as well that I talk about on my blog, like image tags, form tags that go in specifically for forms. But in general, think of this idea of structure and content tags. It's going to, I think, get you far. And that's mostly it in terms of this. So really the key thing is try to be as specific as possible. Use div from time to time when it makes sense, but then also try to get more specific when it makes sense as well. So adding a header when it should be, tags that should be wrapped in a header. Adding a footer, this is where the copyright goes, right? So try to use these tags when you can to add that additional meaning. But overall, that's everything to get you started and building out HTML documents. And then from there, you're going to then expand upon stylizing it, making it look a little bit nicer in the browser. A browser will have its default styles by default, but the HTML in CSS together will make it a lot more stylistic and make it a lot more pleasing than what you just see by default in the browser. So a little bit about HTML. That's it for today. Thanks so much for watching.